Good day, Supra fans, and welcome to the first semi-final of Super Chat 2019. In today's episode, 8 contestants will compete for 2 spots in the top 25. Each contestant will be asked the exact same question, which they will hear for the first time. A panel of 5 judges and your votes as the 6th judge will determine which 2 will advance to the top 25 on December 6th. Let's start with the winner of Super Chat number 1, Eva Wilson from New Zealand. Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Are you ready for your 3 questions?
I hope so.
Well, let's see. Your first question is, which one of the 5 basic sense better defines you and why?
Out of the 5 basic sense, I think visually would probably define me the most, not because of the fact that I'm in a beauty pageant and people would be looking at me, but one of my passions is art, and that's such a visual thing. I love creating things, I love making different projects, I like to take pictures and edit them, so something as simple as Instagram, but I also like to create quite big works of art, so in my spare time I'll do lots of painting and drawing, and that's something that I've picked up from my mum. She's also a really great artist. So I'd say visual is the one that I connect with the most, just because I find beauty, art, creativity something that I really find is my passion. Yeah.
Thank you for your answer. Your second question is, what event in your country's past is still affecting your country nowadays?
I think a huge event that still affects New Zealand to this day is colonisation. So New Zealand is an island in the South Pacific that was colonised by England. So since that colonisation, we have had a lot of division between our Māori population and our New Zealand European population. That has manifested itself in inequities and education, inequities in health, inequities in income. All of these things are still results of colonisation in our history. So New Zealand's quite a young country. We were only formed maybe 200-300 years ago, and compared to being here in Europe and Poland, a country with thousands of years of history, it's quite the opposite. It's like a mirror almost. So our country's still young, it's still being forged, and I find that colonisation is definitely something that still has had a lasting impact, whereas we see inequities between our Māori population and our European, and part of my advocacy, I would like to work towards reducing these inequities, making sure that everyone has an equal chance, that Māori children have just as much chance to get an education as European children, that there isn't unnecessarily barriers between everyone, and that we can all have an equal chance to make a difference and to achieve our goals.
Thank you. And your last and final question is, outside of climate change, what's the biggest threat the world is facing?
I think the biggest threat that our world is facing today would be a division between countries and then people within our own countries. So I think politically we've noticed a lot of countries closing their borders, turning inward, not wanting to engage with other people, and that's not just in like one area of the world, that's the whole world. Everyone, I think, is becoming more like, let's look after ourselves. So apart from climate change, which will, I think, impact that, if we start running out with water, countries will be deciding, okay, I want to look after my own water, this is something that I need. That, I think, closing borders, dividing ourselves, pushing others away, not staying as a unit, not forgetting the overall goals which we all had, I think that's an issue that's facing us today.
Thank you. So those were your 3 questions.
Yeah,
easy. You're done.
Brilliant.
Well, thank you for your answers.
Thank you.
Next up is the winner of Super Chat number 2, Ngoc Chao Nguyen from Vietnam. Okay, so are you ready for the 3 questions?
Yes, I'm ready.
So let's start. Your question number 1 is, which one of the 5 basic sense better defines you and why?
Yes, that's like the big sense I love the most is like smell. That smell, because you know, when I was because the smell can have I feel like people taste good or not good, and also I love the smell from the other people when they talk with me or they brush around across around me.
So you like the smell of perfumes.
Yes. And I also to taste my smells good.
So thank you for your answer.
Yeah.
Your question number 2 is, what event in your country's past is still affecting your country nowadays?
The event in the past is still affecting my country. Other days I know now like the near league event, like we have 39 people, they die in England because they want to reach the good life and they want to change their life tomorrow. So that's why they choose the way is not allowed to make their life better. Like they go to they go to abroad, but they don't allow it to do that. So that really affected my country now.
Thank you. And your third question is, outside of climate change, or like not counting the climate change, what's the biggest problem the world is facing today?
So the biggest problem, I think, that's the economic. And when you have the strong economic, and you will have the power to control and affect something. And if your power is big, if power is so big, you can control, and you can control what you want to do and what you will to do with the other country. So I think the economic is the biggest problem the world care today.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
It was easy. There we go.
Yeah, I think so.
Thank you for your answers.
Yes, thank you so much.
Our third semifinalist is Naomi Huth from Singapore. So your 3 questions, are you ready?
Yes.
Your first one is, which one of the 5 basic sense better defines you and why?
The 5 basic sense.
Yeah, like sight, smell, taste, hear, and touch.
Ah, which one defines me? Okay, I would say at first sight, because people can see the happiness that radiates from me in my everyday life. And for me, my inner light is something that I want to share with people. And every time people say they see me at first, they're like, oh, your energy is it's so contagious, and it is firstly judged and seen with the sight.
Okay. Your second question, what event in your country's past is still affecting your country nowadays?
I would say that Singapore, because it is such a small country, and also because it is a city and an island, it just got its dependency about 53 years ago, which is why we still struggle with being independent. And I would say we have done a very good job at becoming as independent as we are today, and also one of the world-class cities in the world. But yet, especially water, for example, one of the natural resources that we need, we're still dependent in many ways from other countries because we're lacking this. So I would say that is one of the main things that we struggle with, but we're definitely working on it, and we're doing really well.
And your third and final question, outside of climate change, what's the biggest threat the world is facing?
Thank you for your question. I would say that the biggest threat in our world is our lack of sustainability in the long run, because we are all consumed with our daily life problems and everything that is happening right now in such an unclear manner that, especially in Singapore, our recycling system is very, very low compared to in Europe, in Germany, where I'm also from. Which is why I believe that if we were to all take a step towards sustainability more, a lot of our problems would actually go away, and it is actually the biggest threat to me. So the root of it is that we need to focus on what we have right here, right now, and what we can do about it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So those were your 3 questions.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your answers.
Thank you.
And now it's time for Rose Lama from Nepal to answer her 3 questions. So let's start off with question number 1.
Sure.
Your question 1 is, which one of the basic 5 senses better defines you and why?
I think it's the eyes, like seeing, because I'm a visual person and I learned a lot of things from visualization. So even like when we are learning math, science, everything is visual, hence I'm an art student. I love culture, colors, and that's how I learn things.
Thank you.
Sense of seeing.
So question number 2, what event in your country's past is still affecting your country nowadays?
One of the major effects that we still have is the assassination of our king. It happened June 1st, 2001. The whole royal family was assassinated, and we still, in recent year, we had like president system just like US, and now we are struggling with it. We are still developing country, so that still affects us till this day.
Thank you. And third and final question, outside of climate change, what's the biggest threat the world is facing?
The world, I think it's the message we see in media, because not everything is true, and what we see online versus what it really is online makes a huge difference. When you look at Instagram posts, Facebook stories, what you see is all positive things, big houses, money, fame, and it's not like that in real life. You have to work really hard to achieve such goals, and that thing, the working hard part, is not shown in the camera, and I think that is the biggest part we're missing out. So we always jump to the conclusion, like being a model in Instagram, for instance, will make you popular. And small shows like Dr. Phil shows like really show what goes on beyond.
Thank you. So those were your 3 questions. You're done.
Thank you.
Thank you for your answers. Now let's hear from Hanna Baknerva from Czech Republic. So, your 3 questions. Question number 1. Which one of the 5 basic senses better defines you and why?
Okay, I think the smell is the most best sentences of mine, because I can remember all of beauty's memories with the smells.
Thank you. So going for question number 2, what event in your country's past is still affecting your country today?
Okay, I think was a second war, because it wasn't nice with many countries in Europe, but especially the heart of Europe was the worst, and especially Czechoslovakia, and we are still a little bit in some countries and in some places in my country, so I think it was second war.
Okay, thank you for your answer for question number 2. And last but not least, the 3rd question. Outside of climate change, what's the biggest threat or problem the world is facing?
Okay, thank you for last question. And I think we have many problems on Earth right now because we don't care about this. I think many countries and states on our planet. And for example, I think we use many plastic things and stuff, and it's not right. And not just this, it's many things. I was in Asia last year, and I saw many, bad places, and it wasn't clean, right? It's very bad for the animal. It's very bad for the air. So I think this is the problem, and we need to change.
Okay, thank you. So that was it. Your 3 questions are done.
Thank you very much
Thank
for having
you.
me.
Next up is Jessica Fitriana from Indonesia. So Jessica, your first question is, which one of the 5 basic senses defines you and why? The 5 basic senses are sight, smelling, taste, hearing, or touch. So which one defines you best?
I think touching, because for me, as a beauty queen, we have to touch as many people as I can. I mean, like we have to help others. And for me, by touching others people, it means that we can bring so many good impacts to others. And especially for me, since I'm being a volunteer for children who are infected with HIV/AIDS disease, and there's a problem happening to them that people won't touch her or won't touch them because of people afraid that they will get the same things or the same disease by these children. So if I can choose, maybe the most describe me is touching, because I want to touch as many people as I can.
Thank you. Your second question is, what event in your country's past is still affecting your country today?
Okay, I think it's a history from my country, because in the past, in my country, women were not having their rights to have an education and everything. But since Raden Ajeng Kartini, who is the former in my country, she is the one who break the stigma around women, and she is the one who fought for women's rights and women's education. And since that time, I think that she changed a lot about women's perception in my country. So that makes me who I am today. I learned so much from her to be a strong woman, to be someone who are not easily give up. And she changed a lot about women's life right now in my country. So now women in my country can have their rights and can work as another male in my country.
Thank you. And third question is, outside of climate change, meaning eliminating climate change, what's the biggest threat the world is facing? So something different from climate change. What is the biggest threat or problem the world is facing?
I think poverty, because for me, poverty is the main problem that's happening in this world. And from poverty itself, it can bring so many bad impacts to another things like maybe education and everything. So I think the most important one for the world to solve the problem is poverty itself.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So those were your 3 questions. You're done. selection team also selected 2 wildcards from the first 6 groups. So, the first we have is Regina Gray from United States. So, are you ready?
I think so.
So your first question is, which one of the 5 basic sense better defines you and why?
I would definitely have to say touch. Anyone who knows me, especially my friends and family, knows that I love to be affectionate with them because that's the best way for me to show that I care for them. So hugging for me is so important when it comes to, especially my nieces. I want them to know how much I really love them and that they're supported and that they can grow up and do whatever they want. And I think the best way for someone to know that is through that sense of touch. And so like I'm always hugging them and kissing on them, and they're probably like, they call me Gigi. Gigi, please stop, please stop. So definitely touch would be the best sense to describe me.
Okay, thank you. Your second question is, what event in your country's past is still affecting your country nowadays?
Wow. I'd probably have to say when Barack Obama was elected president. If anyone knows anything about American history and how we do things, we elect presidents every 4 years, and he was the first African American to ever be elected to that office, and it completely changed our history as far as what we stand for in our country, and also it just really had a wave of young people go out to vote, and that was the first time that we've seen so many young people vote in America, and so I think it started a trend, and so now voting is now a cool thing, which it wasn't. It was a thing that people really didn't do unless they really understood the history behind it.
Thank you. And third and final question, outside of climate change, what is the biggest threat the world is facing?
You know, I had this conversation actually a couple times while being here. I've met so many different women from different countries, and we're talking about our countries. And a common thread that we've talked about is consumption, but really overconsumption. And it's actually true within my country. We consume a lot when it comes to plastic, when it comes to food, fuel. And so overconsumption of resources across the globe is definitely going to be one of the biggest issues facing our entire world. And it's definitely something we're going to have to tackle and have more conversations and how to find a solution to be more sustainable overall.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You're done.
That's it?
Yes.
Okay, great.
And now our second wild card, Miss Poland Kamila Świerc. So, your first question, which one of the 5 basic sense better defines you and why? 5 basic sense being sight, smelling, tasting, hearing, or touching.
I think maybe hearing, because for me it is something that makes us that person that we are because of people who we are meeting. So I think that it is all the time that we meet a lot of people, a lot of important issues, and we have to hear to them because that's make us feel another person, different person, just the person who we are exactly now. So yeah, that's my option.
Okay. Your second question is, what event in your country's past is still affecting your country nowadays or today?
I think it is the Second World War because it was the most important and the most difficult happening here. I don't know how explain even I can this because I didn't live these days, so I can just feel the things that these people can feel. But I know that it is really important for us like people, like a country. So I think it is just something that really, even for me, because I didn't live then, but I know that that makes really our country stronger, and now we want to build it again.
Thank you. And your final question, outside of climate change, meaning you cannot choose that option, what's the biggest threat the world is facing today? What is the biggest problem besides climate change that the world is facing today?
So I think the biggest, one of the biggest problems, because each of them is, I think, really important. But one of them is the bullying, because all of us, I think, had someday the problem with people who maybe cannot understand us, and maybe because of that we can feel under the pressure, we can feel really bad, and some of people had even worse days, even worse time, worse moment in the life. So that is something what is really important for us as a people, because it is everywhere. Bullying is just everywhere, and each of us has, I think, someday something like that. And we shouldn't just be for ourselves so bad, and for each of people we should just be good, nice, and be careful about what we are saying and what we are doing to others.
Thank you. So that was it, you're done.
Thank you so much.
That was it. Thanks for watching our first semi-final. Remember that now you need to hop into the Miss Supranational app so that you can vote for 2 of your favorite girls from this group to get into the top 25 of Miss Supranational on December 6th. So again, thanks for watching.